It would seem that Team RWBY might be making a reunion very soon, but if I had to guess, most likely sometime next season. Because I feel like this season is going to be setting up all the characters to reach their destination, and then the next season is going to focus on everyone reuniting and focusing on a central plot. That's where I'm assuming the direction of the story is going. But regardless of that though, this episode displays 4 of our main characters, all 4 of them, all of Team RWBY: Blake, Yang, Ruby, and Weiss. And I like the style of this episode and how it's trying to progress the plot with each individual character. As we know, each individual character has their own story going on, what they need to do and accomplish. For instance, RWBY has to deal with stuff with Crow, Yang is dealing with stuff when it comes to her arm and trying to move on, Blake is trying to realize that she needs to have people around, but she's constantly pushing everyone away because she doesn't want them to get hurt, and now she's made a plan to where she wants to take back the white thing. And then on top of that, we have the stuff going on with Weiss and how she's been imprisoned by her father, everything's taken away from her, she might not have any family left once she finally leaves, and she's going out to try to find RWBY and meet up, and the team can reunite once again. So, I mean, all the plot threads have been building up very slowly throughout the season, which is exactly what we expected from this series, from this season of RWBY when we started, because it was a season that was to focus on the individual characters of Team RWBY, show their developments and what they need to do to get stronger and move on past any things that make them feel uncomfortable or they have difficulties moving past. For instance, what happened in the previous season. So to start off, let's talk about the stuff with what happened with Salem, to also the stuff with Cinder. So Cinder as a character, she actually gets a spotlight as well, which is very interesting because if you look at the format of the episode, it focuses on all 4 of our main characters, as I said, Team RWBY. But before all of that, we get the side of the villains, what's going on with them. For instance, what's happening with Cinder, Salem, and also Tyrion. And I like the, I guess, direction that this episode went, especially with that, opening up with the villains, but then leaving us off with the heroes. And the start of it really set a grim, you know, tone to the episode, no pun intended, by the way. And Tyrion coming up and just begging Salem, like, I'm sorry, and you just see how, you know, attached he is to her, how loyal he is. It really makes you question exactly what is going on with his character, because as I've already stated when his character was first introduced for this season of RWBY, I'm fascinated by characters that are kind of unstable, mentally unstable, because there could be really good reasons to why they act like they do, which could be very entertaining and interesting to see what direction the writer wants to take them. And that's exactly why I really like Tyrion's character, because either he could be a very cliche, psychotic villain, or there could be some depth to him that adds extra layers to his character, and you're like, holy crap, this is why he acts like he does. And clearly Rooster Teeth was trying to do that with this episode, by showing that Tyrion has this loyalty to Salem. It's not just being a psychopath wanting to kill things, but it seems like he truly cares about Salem. Salem means a lot to him, it's like his entire world, and when he disappoints her, he feels very bad about it. And when you see that scene when he's very scared, he's upset with himself, and he just bows before her, and he's just shaking and all that. You just see it in his face, and the way he tears up when she says, I'm disappointed in you, it shows how much he really respects Salem, and how much he cares for her. So the question is, what type of history does Tyrion have with Salem? Why is he so devoted to her? And on top of that, why does her words mean so much to him? When she's like, I'm disappointed in you, why is he that upset? Is it because he fears death? Which I highly doubt, since he is a type of character that is a little bit unstable. I don't think it really matters for that end. I think there's something else going on here, and hopefully Rooster Teeth dives into this character more. Hopefully this isn't the last time we see this character getting dived into, especially when it comes to his insanity and why he acts like he does. I mean, that entire scene when he's upset and he's sad and depressed, he vents out all of his depression and anger onto this Grimm that was about to attack him. And I mean, we've seen Grimm killed a lot of times throughout the series of RWBY. We've seen them put down, executed, whatever. It's a typical thing we have seen. But the way this Grimm was killed was completely different from anything else we have seen thus far from RWBY out of all of the seasons. Like I've said, we've seen Grimm killed before. However, the way this Grimm was killed, it was kind of more like a murder. Like, for instance, just straight up being brutal to be brutal. The man could have easily have put it down, but he went the extra step and tortured the thing until it was just completely dead. And when you see Tyrion on top of it, just bashing it, you see sadness in his face. He's crying, you see the terror, the sadness where he's disappointed in himself. But then, as he's beating this thing, getting out his anger, getting out his sadness, he starts smiling, which shows like a fit of rage and a fit of happiness as well, to show that this man is not stable, which, as I've already said, we know he's not, but it shows that there's something wrong, really wrong with his character, and the way he vents his aggression towards someone like that to really just kill them like that in such a brutal way. I really like the direction Rooster Teeth is taking this character, and it really set the tone for the episode, and also what we can expect from this villain in future episodes of RWBY, and even the next season and many seasons to come, depending on how long they want to keep him around. Now, with that being out of the way, Cinder, as a character, as we know with the way the series opened up, she is very different. She's a little bit more weaker compared to what she was. She doesn't seem to be as like, I can do anything, I'm powerful and all that. She doesn't act like she did throughout the previous seasons, which I've already mentioned in my previous reviews. And once again, we get to see that with the way she acts in this episode of RWBY. And the more I see it, the more I notice that there is a very likely possibility that maybe Cinder is going to go through some form of redemption arc. She is going to realize what she has done, she's going to feel very bad about it, and she's going to try to make up for it, maybe resulting in her own death, or resulting in her actually getting redeemed and people accepting her for who she is. One or the other might happen, but regardless though, I noticed Rooster Teeth is really trying to focus on that when it comes to her character, and maybe that's why they're trying to set up her character like that, to show that she's going to have some form of redemption, and then she's going to sacrifice herself maybe because she cares about, you know, the actual good side now. Instead of being completely evil, she realizes what she done wrong, or maybe something else is going to happen that's very tragic when it comes to her character. But I noticed the way it's looking now, and seeming more and more likely that Rooster Teeth is going that direction, especially with Cinder's character. So getting off of the first part, let's talk about the next one. The next part to talk about is the stuff with Yang. Now, Yang's entire scene is very simplistic. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. Just the main message of Yang's scene is that she's finally moving past all of the trouble she's been going through in these recent times, and she's finally willing to take the first steps to leave the place she's at right now and go find out what she wants to do, what she wants to accomplish, and the goals she has in sight. And Rooster Teeth leaves the interpretation of whatever Yang is trying to do out on the open, on the table. We don't even know where Yang wants to go. We don't know if she wants to meet up with her sister, Blake. We don't know if she wants to, you know, meet up with Weiss. We have no idea at all what direction that Yang wants to take. However, we do know whatever she's going to choose, there is probably three options. You have an option to where she's going to meet up with RWBY. Option 2, she's going to try to find her mother. Or option 3, which is a mystery, maybe she wants to meet up with Blake for whatever reason to just kind of clarify, like, it's not your fault or whatever, don't blame yourself. Something like that might happen. So, depending on where Rooster Teeth wants to take that, that's the direction Yang's character could go, and it does mean that she might not be a part of the group of Team RWBY in next season. When everybody, you know, meets up and they have a reunion, Yang might not be there because she could be doing her own thing. Now, moving past that, let's talk about the stuff with Weiss. Now, Weiss, she's been going through a lot of development as well. She's been, you know, dealing with the issues with her family, her father, her brother. You know, she's been trying to train herself, learn how she can actually summon things. She's finally making progression, becoming stronger, and you can see how she has all this determination inside of her. And in this episode, she finally initiates that escape to get out of this place, to finally go out and find Team RWBY, find RWBY once again, and be able to help people out. You know, do stuff that actually helps the public instead of just trying to lie and act like everything is fine. And the way that went, it just kind of clarifies where she wants to go. There wasn't a whole lot going on there besides just letting us know that she is finally moving on out. She's getting out of here and she wants to go meet up. Now, one thing I do want to quickly say is Klein, such a good man. I love that character. Like, I know not many might care about his character, but I love the style of the character, the way he changes his personalities constantly, but I just love how helpful he is to Weiss. I really respect a character like that, the way he goes out of his way to help her out, especially to escape the mansion. He's a really good character, and I I hope this is not, you know, the very few times we'll see him in the series. Hopefully he is a reoccurring character, and this isn't one of the few times we're going to see him throughout the entirety of RWBY, because it would be such a waste. For a character as cool as Klein, with his personality, his design, it would just be a super big waste just not to use his character. So, I really like Klein. Like I said, I would definitely want more of him if he ever does pop up, and if there is a chance he could possibly pop up. Now, not moving off the Weiss scene, Ironwood talks with Weiss's father. And Ironwood is definitely trying to be a tyrant. He's trying to assert himself to show that he's not backing down. He needs to do what he needs to do. And to be honest with you, I agree with Ironwood. I understand why he's acting like he is, especially what has happened at Beacon and all that in the last season to what's happening in this season. The situation is very dire. It's not something that can be completely ignored. And him wanting to shut down the borders and all that and make it to where only people that can leave is people that he gives permission to, I understand. I mean, it looks like he's evil. It looks like he's trying to be a tyrant, which in reality he is. I still agree with Ironwood being very aggressive with this and saying that to Weiss's father, like, you best be on my good side. He's just trying to say, like, you need to stop being such an asshole and ignoring the real problems and thinking about your own greed. You need to realize what's really going on here, and I like the direction Ironwood is taking. I like that how he's asserting himself, and he's like, you need to honestly listen, stop ignoring the real problems. So Ironwood, you're not my personal favorite character, but I do respect some of your morals and how you've been acting throughout this season, especially with how he was helping out Weiss, to also what he said in this episode. It's very respectable. So moving on to the next scene, let's move on to Blake's scene. So Blake's scene, as I already kind of briefly mentioned, it's a simplistic scene. It pretty much just lets us know that she wants to take back the White Fang, which, and entirely, we probably all already imagined that something like this was going to happen. Like, she probably wanted to either destroy the White Fang, like completely dismantle it, or she was going to take it back and they were going to lead it once again and turn it into something very good and noble, and that's exactly what we're getting. Blake wants to take back the White Fang, what they used to have, and make it into something what it should be for a noble goal. And right now, the White Fang, as we know, is very corrupt. They're being used for doing crime and stuff, and so Blake wants to take it back and make it to what it really should be. She wants to, I can't believe I'm going to say this quote, but she wants to make the White Fang, correct, I want to puke a little bit, but she wants to make the White Fang great again. So with that being said, though, I do like the direction Blake is going, and I mean, many might, argue about Blake and say, like, she's, saying, like, oh, everything's my fault, I want to be away from everybody and separate because I don't want them to get hurt, but many might say, oh, actually, Blake, if you really think about it, the White Fang already saw all of your friends and shit. They know who you're friends with. If they really wanted to harm you, they would definitely harm your friends. Like, they know who your friends are. So I think some of the reasoning of why Blake wants to be away from people, it's kind of stupid. It is, because everybody's already known. Like, anyone that Blake's hanged out with already, the White Fang most likely already knows. They probably already, gathered information. They saw, the live feed and all that on television. They already know about probably with the friends that Blake hangs around with. So, when Blake says she wants to be away from people, in all honesty, it's kind of stupid because everybody already knows. And if they really did want to hurt Blake's friends, they would go out of the way to hurt her friends. Like, they'll find out. They'll know. They'll instantly know. So, some of the reasoning of Blake wanting to, be away from people, I understand why she's saying that, but some of the reasoning just doesn't make any sense. However, Sun's also willing to back her and help her out, and I really liked his character. I really appreciated his character throughout this episode. He wasn't just used for comedy and just to be annoying. He's actually used for some really good progression for Blake's character, but also him as well. So, a very good scene with Blake overall. Now, the final part I want to talk about is the scene with RWBY. So RWBY's scene is very short, quick to the point, and it just initiates that the Grimm that was, hinted at in the last episode, that's very strong, that wiped out Nora's entire village and all that, now it's popping up. And we see this Grimm's face, which is very creepy. Like, holy shit, this Grimm, it looks just freaking savage. Like, the face, it just, yeah. Very creepy design for the Grimm, especially the way the mouth opens up and you see how it, the mouth is not completely open. It looks very creepy. Love the design of it, and I can't wait to see what type of abilities this thing has and what type of capabilities it can do in the fight against our entire crew. So yeah, overall, a lot of hype built up in this episode for the next season, and along with a battle setup for the next episode with, RWBY and the gang going up against this Grimm. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.